You're listening to the Better in Bavaria podcast, hosted by U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria Public Affairs, where we share stories and highlight the people behind them, the soldiers and Army civilians who support our readiness mission, all while making our community a great place to work, live, and raise a family.
Hello everyone, welcome back to your new favorite podcast, Better in Bavaria. I'm your co-host, Linda A. Reed with the U.S. Army Garrison Public Affairs Office. I consider myself a very lucky American living and working in lovely Germany.
Willkommen. I'm also a public affairs officer and I'm your co-host, Andreas Kreuzer, and I'm born and raised in Vilseck, Germany.
Thank you listeners and subscribers for sharing your time with us as we spotlight our garrison and what makes it so very special. Today, we have a very special guest with us.
Yes, we have a great show for you. Our guest today is the Command Sergeant Major of United States Army Garrison Bavaria. Welcome, Sergeant Major Hermes F. Acevedo. Sergeant Major, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, good morning or good afternoon. Hey, Better in Bavaria listeners. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Command Sergeant Major Acevedo, and I am your U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria Command Sergeant Major. I am glad to share a little bit about myself. I guess I'll start where I come from. I was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and joined the Army back in 1994. Germany has been a home to me in Frankfurt, in Bamberg, in Wiesbaden, and now here in Bavaria. So for a long period of time, I have spent wonderful years in Germany.
Thank you again for being here today, and we'd also like to know before we get started, why is it better in Bavaria for you?
I start saying that Bavaria is beautiful, is welcoming. The U.S. Army is part of Bavaria as much as Bavaria is part of the U.S. Army. I love our garrison because it houses the best soldiers and units. Like Linda, you've been here for now 4 months?
6.
6 months, oh my goodness. You've been here for 6 months, so I ask you, when you look at the garrison overall, how do you feel about it?
Well, I landed in the friendliest, nicest office, I think, aboard the whole garrison. And I'm welcomed and I have access to the leaders. So I feel very lucky that I'm here and taken care of.
Yeah, I'm glad, because what I pulled out of that is that the reception and integration was pretty good. And I think that's very key. It's especially for our soldiers and our families. When they get orders to Bavaria and they have never been to Bavaria, it's kind of scary. So the reception and integration start with sponsorship. And those sponsors, they need to contact that family and start giving the information and start creating that relationship and that support before they even get here. And then us as a garrison, we are responsible to give them time and accurate data and information. And I am so glad that we are investing in our platforms to provide them with timely, accurate information from what to expect to get a driver's license to how does the houses look like. I think it's awesome, and I appreciate the PAO team to bring all that together. How about you?
Well, I grew up in Vilseck, right next to a housing area, and I can't imagine to live without Americans. I grew up as a kid, we played with American kids. Now I'm in the office with Americans, so most of my friends are somehow related to the US Army. I'm working for the US Army now for almost 15 years, and it's great to be part of it, and it's also great to be part of the continuity team because, soldiers, they change every couple of years, civilians change. It's great to be part of, keep up the history and the continuity of the operations.
Yeah, I am very glad to hear that because at the end of the day, the Army is going to transition us. The armies are going to come here for 3 years, or maybe a little bit longer, and then our civilian personnel that works for the Department of the Army, they're also going to transition. So the glue that keeps Bavaria together is the host nation workers. That is what makes us who we are. They're the one that help us navigate, through the challenges or to the new things that we have to experience. Those are the friends that tells us where to go to get the best shopping, right? So I appreciate that you're here, and I'm glad that you're happy being in Bavaria, because our local national employees, in my mind, are the glue.
Sergeant Major, we talked about all the good things. So, but were there any cultural shocks when you arrived in Germany first time?
Well, my first duty station was Frankfurt, and I came from an island. So, yeah, there was, I have never seen so many people in one place at one time. That was a culture shock. I grew up in the mountains, and never seen a train, and I went to the Hauptbahnhof in Frankfurt, and I saw a lot of trains. And then I went outside from the Hauptbahnhof, and I saw a lot of cars, trying to navigate through the streets of made of cobblestone, with streetcars and bicycles and people walking. And I thought to myself, how are we not crashing? But then I learned how to do it.
I had exactly the same experience when I went to New York City.
Yeah, that was incredible. I think that was one of the shocking ones. I saw snow for the first time working the 5th Corps headquarters gate in 1994. I remember sitting at the gate and it started snowing. I thought to myself, I never seen snow before. This is not bad. And then my sergeant told me, hey, pay attention. Because I was paying more attention to the snow than to the traffic. Yeah.
And then bought your first set of winter tires.
Yes. Oh, yes. No, I thought it was great. Another thing is, today I find it comforting, but still a little bit different. How people just go out to a place with friends, set up a blanket, bring some snacks, bring some wine, and they sit there and they just talk. I said, man, I wish I would have done that when I was a kid. Every time I see it, I see their smiles, I see their conversations, or I see their interaction. I say, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. But then I say, well, the only reason, or not their only reason, or they're able to do that because we are safe. And we are safe because together we are making this world just a little bit safer.
Now, Sergeant Major, speaking of picnics, what is your favorite German food?
My favorite German food is, that's a hard one. I like a nice piece of pork that has been oven baked with the crusty skin, with the beer brown sauce and the 2 dumplings. Oh my goodness. I know that it has a name. I cannot pronounce the name.
Schweinekrustenbraten mit Knödel.
Yeah, Schweinekrustenbraten. It is amazing. Yeah. There's something about that menu. You ever had it?
No.
Yeah, you should. At least once.
Okay.
Yeah. And thank me later.
I'll put it on my to-do list.
No, it's super good. But in Bavaria, Bavaria is so much food. So much food, and everything so fresh. It's ridiculous. Yeah. That's what I PT a lot, because I eat a lot.
That's great. As a local here, it makes me happy that you enjoy the area. Sergeant Major, do you have any advice how to get up-to-date information for USAC Bavaria?
So I would suggest they subscribe to our social media to stay up to date.
That's great, because there is always something to do here in Bavaria. It's fun living here. The community welcomes us. So many people speak English. Even though I'm trying to study the language, last night I learned a phrase about, I only understand train station. What does that mean, Andreas?
Oh, train station. So, ich verstehe immer nur Bahnhof. So, I only understand train station. It means actually I have no clue.
Good one. Sergeant Major, do you have a favorite phrase or word that you've learned here in Germany?
Here in Bavaria, I like the phrase Grüß Gott. People smile when I greet them that way. It lets them know, hey, I'm visiting, but I like the way you do things. Grüß
That's a good one.
That's great. I appreciate that you're learning my first language. You told us you have stationed in Europe before. Do you have any other favorite places here in Germany or in Europe?
Well, Europe is so beautiful, and to be honest with you, my favorite place is Bavaria because it's home. This is where the people that I love are. But when I go travel, I have experienced many things. Here in Germany, from the city of Frankfurt, where it's a city that has so many people and so many things to see, to a small town such as the one in Bamberg that has heritage buildings and a culture that cannot be replicated anywhere else.
So these are great experiences, and but it must be a big challenge to move every couple of years.
It is a challenge. It is a challenge, but it is a rewarding challenge. You know, the Army gave me the opportunity to come to Europe, bring my family, and provided me a place to live. They moved all my household goods and my car. And here in Army Europe, every month we get a 4-day weekend. So it gives me the opportunity to go explore and to go look at things. You quickly realize how easy it is to travel in Europe. As long as you have your passports and that you let your chain of command know where you're going and put in the required paperwork, you just grab and go.
Sounds like you've been all over. You've really been exploring. But we're also interested in your path to Command Sergeant Major and your career in the Army. How and why did you choose the Army?
That's a very good question. I think it happened in 1985. I was about 11 years old, and Puerto Rico suffered about 2 weeks of rain, and that led to a landslide that killed about 130 people. It literally destroyed our entire community. And as a young person, 11 years old, I was scared. I remember watching TV and listening to the news and listening to the family talk about how horrible those conditions were. However, my grandfather, who I look up to, he said, "Hey, look, the Army's coming." And he said it with such I think in his words and in his feelings that, hey, everything's going to be okay, the Army's coming. And what he meant was the National Guard was activated. And those soldiers jump into action, leaving their families behind. And for weeks, I saw them rescue folks every day, helicopters in the air, equipment moving. But I kept thinking about those soldiers and in their spit-shine uniforms and with all their equipment and how they have left their families to go help others. I knew then that those were my heroes, and I want to be one of them.
That's a great story. So the Army went back to the old slogan, "Be all you can be." Why would you recommend joining the Army?
Well, I think it gives you opportunities, regardless of where you come from or the color of your skin or your gender. It's all about where do you want to be, and the Army has the conditions that helps you get there. Between education, helps in your physical readiness, your emotional readiness. It gives you a skill. It helps you build a team. You learn so much while you're in the Army. It has great paid benefits. I think because of the structure of the Army, the conditions are set for you to be all that you can be, because nobody's going to hold you back. As a matter of fact, you're going to have a team of people that is going to cheer you on. And I don't know if you can find that somewhere else, but I am here to tell you that you find that here in the U.S. Army.
So, Sergeant Major, I want to go back to your story. That's amazing that you saw those heroes come in for your community and you wanted to be a part of that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Talking about my Hispanic heritage, did you know that over 163,912 soldiers are of Hispanic American descent? It's kind of cool. 44 Hispanic American soldiers have earned and been awarded the Medal of Honor, our nation's highest combat honor. And more than 17% of America's soldiers and 7% of Army civilians are of Hispanic and Latino descent. But here I'm going to give you my 2 cents of that. None of us chose where we were born. None of us chose what language we were going to speak. None of us chose what was the color of our skin or our gender. That was just the way it happens. But the Army of the United States gave us the opportunity to achieve those things. It gave us the opportunity to retain our culture, to retain the things that we were taught when babies, but it gave us the platform to achieve things. And that, my friends, is what makes the Army great. And that one, friends, is what makes America great and is worth fighting for.
That's fantastic. I've got chills. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. Diversity is important to highlight in the Army, with both active duty and our civilians. We are going to take a quick break. We will be right back with our guest, USAC Bavaria Command Sergeant Major Acevedo.
Like what you're hearing? Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe, like, and share our episodes of Better in Bavaria. Visit our USAG Bavaria social media to learn more. And remember, it's Better in Bavaria.
Welcome back. I'm Andreas Kreuzer. I'm joined by my co-host Linda A. Reed and our guest, Command Sergeant Major Acevedo.
Thanks, Andreas. Okay, Sergeant Major, here's what our listeners really want to know. You are so busy. You are all over the installation, visiting folks. But what is the most interesting and enjoyable part of being the Command Sergeant Major of this garrison for you?
I'm interested in this too, and a few from the top.
Getting to know the people. I tell you, that's very important to me because the people is just not the leaders. Now, those are easy to identify. But we get a platform to be leaders and for people to know us, like this podcast. But it's other people behind the formation that come into work and are passionate about their tasks, are passionate about their job, that make a difference. My challenge to everybody is go find somebody that you haven't talked to, find somebody that you haven't met, and spend time with them. Get to know who they are, why they're here. And I guarantee you, you're going to realize that you share the same values and the same feelings. Everybody here is trying to do the right thing. We do care. Everybody cares. And I think that is what makes my job awesome, is the opportunity to meet all these people, and makes my job best, is the people. The mission, I think the mission is we're doing it well. Today, U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria is in good standing. We are meeting the tasks that the Army has given us, and I'm very proud of being a member of that. But I also know that we may be challenged in the future, and if that's the case, we need to truly care about each other, because when we are challenged, our strengths come where unity. If we're together, we're stronger. So take a little time, look at those people in your office, say hello, smile, and say, hey, better in Bavaria.
Sergeant Major, what are some of the top highlights when you think about what you've experienced so far here?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that I have truly enjoyed has been the May Ball festivities, and how communities come together to celebrate each other, to celebrate the community, and to ask for a good year. I think it's so awesome, because it doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter how long you've lived there. It's a sense of belonging. And then I truly enjoyed the American German Fest. 62 years of tradition came back to life with over 100,000 people visiting us. And that's a whole bunch of friends that United States Army Garrison Bavaria have. So it was good to see that. Interesting, another great part of my position is the engagement I get to have with the host nation. Whether it's visiting different areas or celebrating many cultural festivals, it is important for all of us to be good neighbors. We all are representing the United States. So again, I ask that every single one of us act as good ambassadors.
Sergeant Major, I'm glad you're enjoying our local culture. There's always things to see and events to attend here in Bavaria.
I will definitely have so many great memories of being stationed here, and really being part of the local events increases your awareness of Europe and your understanding, and just overall great enjoyment of it. So, Command Sergeant Major, say you see a brand new recruit in the airport, at the train station. What would be your next step?
Well, the first thing that I probably experience is oh my God, I was that young once, and I will approach him and I will say, hey Troop, how you doing? and get to know that person. I will ask for that soldier's name, and then I will ask them where they were from, and then where they were heading to. And once I start that relationship, I will say, hey, where are you heading to? And I will give him the best advice that I can. He's not the first one. He's not going to be the last one. But we all experienced it. But that's what I would do. I would say, hey, it's your turn. It's going to be okay. Yeah.
I think that's good advice, especially what you were talking about earlier, and that's something our listeners can challenge themselves with this week. Make it a point to say hi to somebody, get to know somebody that you haven't known before. Introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I think that is the key. My wife hates it sometimes because I talk to everybody, but I love meeting people. I will smile, look at somebody right in the eye and say hello, and then ask them for their name. And then after that, I introduce myself and I ask them where they're from, what they do, and we start talking. And I have met some amazing people that have amazing talent. And if they're in the Army, that's one of the information that I put in my pocket, because it's easier for me to issue a task to a person that is passionate about something and that has the talent to do it, because it usually leads to synergy and it leads to a better product. But I will never have known that unless I speak to them. That's what I speak to everybody, from the brand new private to the older general. It doesn't matter to me. And that's how I believe we should all act.
I know I've learned more today. Thank you, Sergeant Major. Like the Army overall, you've really made a presence in our social media. So why do you think that is important for Army leaders?
I think it's important for leaders to give the right message at the right time to the right audience. Whether the message is about emergencies, oh, by the way, make sure you are signed up for the alert system here in Bavaria. Services are available for you and your family and the events in your community. It is very, very hard to communicate with a large community. But we have a lot of things that are there in place. And however, the leader is responsible to tell the right message at the right time to the right people.
I know our PAO team really appreciates your support in getting our messages out all across.
In PO, it's great to try different platforms, social media, radio, podcasts, and more. Sergeant Major, as we wrap up, what would you like our audience to remember from today's episode?
Well, I'll tell you that for 248 years, our Army has been charged to fight and win our nation's war. That can only be done by focusing on our number one priority, which is our people, our soldiers, our civilians, and their families. For me, it also includes the support and trust we get from our host nation. Those connections and relationships are vital.
Command Sergeant Major, we appreciate your deep experience, your support, and all the care you give for all of us depending on your leadership. Hey, what's that sound?
That music usually means it's time to learn a German phrase. But today, our guest will be teaching us a phrase in Spanish.
Well, good. Today I'm teaching you a very important phrase, hola, which means hello. And it could start a lifelong friendship. All you have to do is say hola to the next person that you meet on the street and start that relationship. Are you ready to try it?
Hola.
For more Better in Bavaria podcasts, subscribe, like, and share our episodes. Visit our U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria social media or website to learn more.